proud of that. And I was in the gym and I started thinking about some of the stuff going on in the world economically. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to make you aware of so you'll just kind of know what's happening, where the money resides, what's popping in the world. One thing is that apparently economists and investors are starting to change their tone on China. For a while, there was a debate as to whether or not China was even investable because China just has some crazy shenanigans going on with their economy. And what happened was that the stock prices in China all got pushed down, 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 down. And it's almost to the point where people are saying this stuff is so cheap now that it actually becomes a good investment. And that's one thing about investing that a lot of people don't know is that a good company is not always a good investment, and a bad company is not always a bad investment. Sometimes a bad company can be the best investment that you make if the price is low enough. Like even Nvidia can be a terrible investment, not because Nvidia doesn't know how to make money, but because stock prices are built based on expectations and realizations relative to the expectations. So sometimes, the same way I've argued to you that black people were cursed, but we have the curse of low expectations when it comes to things like the public school system. Well, sometimes a company can be cursed by high expectations. Everyone expects the company to make a ton of money and they only make half a ton. And then everyone says, oh my God, you failed. You only made half a ton of money. You were supposed to make 80 billion and you made 78 billion. That doesn't mean they're broke. That doesn't mean they're a bad company. It just means they had a bad experience relative to the expectations. So just know that expectations and information are the two biggest factors that move a stock price. That's why Mr. Beast right now is getting a lot of heat because they're claiming that he was able to trade cryptos on inside information. Anybody see that? I don't know if y'all saw that. I just take in everything. I'll just be scrolling and seeing stuff. And there's this guy named CoffeeZilla who did a whole breakdown. He does these investigations and he's investigating Mr. Beast, claiming that Mr. Beast pushed out a crypto, pumped it up, sold his crypto while everyone else was encouraged to buy it, which is an absolute no-no in the world of finance. But it's not, it kind of is one of those things where it could be illegal, maybe it's not. It's definitely unethical though. Like Donald Trump has been accused of this kind of thing in the past, and I don't think he ever stopped doing it. I think that I think even his company, I told y'all his stock DJT that whatever street, whether it's social media platform, Donald Trump technology or whatever they are, they're not very good. They don't make a lot of money. Now, but the obvious reality, though, is that since Trump is now president, then a lot of that's going to probably change. I'm sure he's going to use his power of the presidency to elevate the companies that he finds loyal to himself. And there's no one more loyal to Donald Trump than Donald Trump, if you know his history and you know how he moves, how he operates. Now, with that said, though, in terms of investing, as I mentioned, China is it's kind of getting back on the radar, and and I'm not saying go invest in China because y'all know I don't give investing advice. That's not what I do. But I do have this list of Chinese companies that are some of my favorites that might be good long-term investments. I'll try to pull that list up and share that with you. And there's just various reasons why that's happening. Another interesting thing that I saw is and as I pull up, I'm gonna try to pull up this list of Chinese stocks and I'll put it in the chat so you guys can see it. And by the way, if you're not invited, if you're not getting the invitations to come to class in the morning, just text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to the number 87948. And I'll send you an invitation when we meet for class. So with that said, another thing, here we go. I found the Chinese list. There we go. I'm gonna pop this in the chat right now so y'all can just have it, take a look at it. Not investing advice ever, but this is something that I do take seriously in terms of where some opportunities might exist. Disney also did really well. I made an investment in Disney. I bought what they call call spreads. I bought some call spreads on Disney, and apparently the investment did work out. Disney had an earnings release, and they did really well. They made a lot of money. I think they had two movies that were billion-dollar movies back to back, which is really good for Disney because Disney was having a really hard time, and I feel like they're a strong company money when they focus, and so this is a good time for Disney. But anyway, there's that list. That list of the Chinese stocks is right there in the chat. So feel free to grab that list and do with it as you will. It's totally up to you. And what else? Last night we had a great time. A lot of you came in last night. Hundreds of you came in for our training on how to turn your child into a millionaire. It was fascinating. It was amazing. It was wonderful to get an opportunity to speak with you and to train you. And we spent about 2 hours in there, just going really hard and laying out what I know are some proven techniques to get your children ready for what's going to happen in the future. The future is going to be really hard for young people. The Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas are already getting their butts kicked. The Alphas are still kids, I think, but the Gen Zers are really stuck financially. They're all struggling. Most of them, most of them can't pay bills. Half of them are depending on their parents. I don't know if y'all saw this. It's crazy. Like a lot of young kids are kind of in this weird space right now because I think they said something like a third of all of the boys under 30 haven't had sex in a year. So literally, like the change in the demographics has literally gotten to the point where it's affecting the reproduction rate. Because I don't know about y'all, but in my 20s, I had a girlfriend and we enjoyed each other's company, right? So, and the idea that you don't that they're just I mean, it's weird out here, man. Man, it's getting real strange. So anyway, I think that financial insecurity plays a part in that, right? So if you are 27 and you living in your mama's basement and you don't have any money and you don't have any confidence and you're scared of girls, scared of life, scared of whatever, scared of responsibility, then I guess you're gonna have a different lifestyle. Your life might consist of, video games and dirty stuff on the internet and not actually engaging with real people. So the world's just really gotten different. And if you're in that category, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just encouraging you to expand your skill set because I mean, think about it. If you are a guy or a woman too, and you do expand your skill set and you can go out and engage in the world in a productive way in a confident way, then you won't have much competition. You know you'll ask a girl out and she'll say yeah because nobody else wants to actually take her out or treat her well, and people don't even date anymore. I encourage you go talk to some older folks and just ask them like how do I develop this skill, because you can, and that'll actually give put you in a really advantageous position. When I was dating, I'm telling on myself. This is way TMI, but I kid you not. When I got in my 30s, what I noticed was it was harder to get a date in my 20s. I got dates in my 20s, but I wasn't a Mac or a player or a pimp, or I wasn't no, I've always thought that stuff. I always respected women, which kind of made me lame, I guess, in the eyes of some. And so I would have to work hard to get a girlfriend. It was a competition, right? And I always had I did okay. But really what happened was things really changed in my 30s because two things happened when I turned 31. One was I was making over $100,000 a year. That right there will get you the price of admission for almost any situation. But then the second thing was I noticed that a lot of the guys that competed with me in my 20s were no longer available in my 30s. They either got married or some of them ended up in bad situations because they weren't making good choices in their lives. And so what happened was as I got older and things started changing and preferences started shifting, women started sort of learning from their experiences in their 20s. They weren't just looking for the fun guy, they were looking for a guy with substance. It just changed the environment. And suddenly I went from being just a regular dude to being kind of I kind of was a little bit of a hot commodity, not bragging, I'm not saying I'm special or anything, but I thought that was really interesting. And I remember observing that almost like a scientist, and I started reading books about mating patterns. And I read a book called What Women Want Men to Know. I read books about just how sex and love takes place. Because what's interesting to me is how many people ruin their lives over sex or love because they don't think about it. They're not conscious of it, right? So, like, for example, has anybody seen where that poor little Disney girl got pregnant by this guy that's like a complete absolute thug? Did y'all see that Sky Jackson? So I only know about Sky. I do not watch the Disney Channel that much. I watch like the Marvel stuff, but I don't know about the Disney stars. But Sky Jackson, our kids know about her and they've talked about her. And so Sky Jackson was this cute little Disney star. And when she got pregnant by this guy, and I was like, which trash can did you find him in the bottom of? Because this dude is not that he's not a valuable human being. I mean, everybody's precious in the eyes of the Lord. Can I get an amen? So everybody is precious to Jesus, but this dude is very troubled. I think on his Twitter account there was like a little statement where he said something like, "I just got this Disney bitch pregnant" or something. I kid you not. But then she said, "Oh, he got hacked." Yeah, okay. Now you're already making excuses for your sorry ass man. I feel bad for you because that's just bad coaching, and it makes me wonder what the future is going to look like. It's just really sad, and I kind of think that this is the kind of stuff that we do that makes our lives harder, not just in terms of just life in general, but it really makes things financially harder. Like I cannot imagine that person, at least in his current form, he may evolve, he may grow up, he may adjust, but in his current form, I cannot imagine him adding value to her economic life. Do you see what I mean? And I just don't understand what the barrier is that keeps us from saying, okay, how do I pick somebody that I really am attracted to, who also can really make sure that I'm going to be financially stable and that we're going to help each other stabilize financially instead of this person draining me because they keep making horrible decisions and putting us in terrible situations. And so really, this is another reason. This is why I'm a big advocate for therapy, because when you get that therapy, you start seeing your flaws. You start seeing the things that you are doing wrong. You start seeing your mistakes, and you can keep your mistakes from draining you financially, emotionally, and otherwise. Because if you don't, you're just going to end up in this hell, and then you're going to wonder, like, where did this hell come from? Why does my life feel like it's covered with bad weather? You're going to have to look in the mirror. The number one determinant of what happens in your life is always you. You are you are the answer. You are the alpha and the omega in your life. And that's hard for us to accept in a society that trains us to blame everybody else. We can blame the system, we can blame Trump, we can blame Kamala, we can blame our boss, we blame our partner, we blame our parents. And all that blame might be adequate to a point, right? It might be their fault to some extent, but really most things don't happen to you unless you allow them to. And so anyway, speaking of another thing that does happen to us, and by the way, oh, so some of you are asking, if you want to get the recording of what we did yesterday, uh, I am going to load it into kiddyboss.com, KIDDIE, kiddyboss.com. So if you want to go and take a look at what we did on how to turn your child into a millionaire, it's kiddyboss.com. That's kitty spelled KIDDIE. And those of you who were there last night, because you already signed up, you can just log right in and it's right there. It's yours for life. Share it with your family, whatever you want to do with it. Those who missed it, if you go to kiddyboss.com, all that's there, including the previous training that I did, and I enhanced it. This is almost like a 2.0 version of that training, and we went deep into the sturdy model of raising kids. We went into the model of the KID model and also the poise model, and we broke all that down and spent about 2 hours really kind of dissecting a simple process that you can apply to make sure your kids are financially stable. So anyway, let me move into something else that I was thinking about this morning that I thought was somewhat interesting. And it had to do with Christmas shopping. So Christmas is coming, and believe me, all the companies and the retailers are licking their chops. They're super excited about how much money they're going to get you to get up off of for Christmas, and buying a bunch of toys that are going to be pretty worthless in about 6 months. And so, if you want to know what happens during Christmas and some of the just some interesting stats about holiday debt and things like that. Basically, 35% of Americans, according to Balancing Everything, 35% of Americans actually go into debt for holiday purchases, for Christmas shopping, things like that. And what's interesting also is that 23% of Americans express regret over their holiday spending. So that's one-fourth of all people that spend money over Christmas walk away with regret. And that could be a sign of some type of addiction, because one of the signs of addiction is when you do something spur of the moment and then later on you regret it. So you sleep with somebody and then you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? Or you eat something like, man, I wish I hadn't ate that. Or you go shopping and you spend the money and you say, I wish I had that money back. Those That's regret, which is could be a sign of some type of addiction possibly, or impulsive behavior. Credit card debt during the 2022 holiday season, U.S. credit card debt went up by 61 billion in one quarter, which it has hit a record high. By the way, credit card debt's at a record high. An estimated 15.2 billion is spent each year on unwanted Christmas gifts, gifts that people don't even want, and also with the emergence of things like buy now, pay later, that's also added to spending. Their goal is to get you to spend your money as easily as possible. Now, here are some other stats that you may want to think about. The average American spends about $833 at Christmas. 648 of that is on gifts. 231 is related to non-gift holiday items. And also, if you have non-gift, other non-gift purchases, that's $118. Now, and the other last little factoid is that uh, people in the age range of 45 to 54 tend to spend the most. They spend an average of $1,162 at Christmas time. Now I want to go back to that average of $833 spent per year on Christmas. Give me a yes in the chat. Give me a yes. How many of you, either yourselves or you know somebody who spent more than $833 at Christmas? How many of you know people who might go over $1,000 every year at Christmas time? Give me a yes in the chat if you know at least one person or two or three or five or 10 who does that. I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of people. When I saw 833, I said, "Oh, that's kind of low." I know people that go way over that because if you add it up, it's not just buying the gifts; it's everything related to it. You have a Christmas party, Christmas dinner. You have maybe some other thing activities that you do. You go out to dinner, right? Maybe you have you get together with relatives. Maybe you travel. If you travel, that right there is going to cost you at least 1,000 for a lot of people because you got to pay for hotels or something, or at least airplane tickets and gas and everything else, right? So Christmas is just this time where a lot of money ends up leaving your pocket, and what tends to happen afterward is that you have a lot of people that have maxed out the credit card because they had this holiday experience that they paid for. Now, here's the thing. I'm not against that at all. Really, I'm not against that. I'm not here to scold you about it. I'm not here to warn you about spending at Christmas. I'm not here to ruin Christmas. I am not the Boyce that stole Christmas. I ain't Grinching today. That's not my job. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm here to just encourage a different way of looking at Christmas. So rather than Grinching our holiday season, it's supposed to be happy holidays now. But y'all know what I mean when I say Christmas. That includes Kwanzaa and was whatever what's the Jewish um Hanukkah, yeah. Whatever you are, right? I say Christmas because that's just what I grew up saying, but I know it's the holiday season. So anyway, um, but here's the thing. I just would encourage a conscious Christmas, right? A financially conscious Christmas. And a conscious Christmas might mean a couple things. One, it might mean really just reflecting on what you're spending money on and whether or not this is something that you want to do, something that you're going to feel good about, and if this is the best way to accomplish the goal. Quite often, spending money is a way of showing love to another person. I took the time and I've spent money to buy this gift for you because I love you and I care about you. But what's interesting to me is that there are a lot of different ways to show love. And I found that some of the best gifts that you can give are the gifts that don't cost any money. I also find that when I have Christmas, I don't even care if anybody buys me something. But if you call me or you spend time with me, or maybe you take the time to tell me how much you care about me or something like that, that means so much more than money, and it doesn't cost you anything to do that. So you can buy me stuff. My wife likes to buy stuff. She did get me the cool. I'm hard to buy gifts for because when I want something, I just go buy it and I just have it already. And so I'm kind of like the person who kind of has everything. And the best gift she gave me a cool gift last year. She gave me a Meta Quest 3, and I love that. I use it every day. I play virtual golf, and I suck at it, but I'm getting better. But for the most part, I don't care about the gifts, right? The gifts are not that big of a deal. It's really the other stuff that money can't buy that matters the most. So I encourage you to really think about ways to really impress upon people how much you love them and challenge yourself to say, can I do this without really spending money? Like, do I really spend, or maybe money is even an easy cop out. Like, okay, I'm just gonna go to Walmart or wherever, buy you something, and then I can say I did that. Or maybe this year I can try to do something very special, whatever that looks like for you. The other piece to that too is I cannot impress upon you the significance of taking this as an opportunity to show love, not just by spending money on people, but show love by investing in people. So we go back to buying stock for your kids. I think all your kids, everybody in here, all your kids, grandkids should get some stock as a Christmas gift. And I think you can buy it on, put it on your app, and you can just say, "This is yours. I just want you here. Look on the app. I bought this for you. I'm not going to give it to you for a long time, but it is purchased for you or something. Whatever system you want to keep up with, whatever system you want to use. I don't encourage like just giving them money to buy the stock or having them actually control the asset because they're going to sell it at some point. One day they're going to need some money and they're going to want to sell the stock. I think it's better to just say, here, I bought it, it's here. I mean, if you want to be dramatic, you could go get stock certificates. I forgot what the company. If you look it up, there's companies they'll send you the actual official stock certificate. I think that's a lot of work, right? But you can actually do that, and we've had people in the Black Business School do that. But I think buying stock for the kids, I think, is a cool way to have a good conversation about wealth building. And I guarantee you that if you buy them some shares of Nike or Disney or Apple or Nvidia, and you leave it there, it's going to last a lot longer than any toy you might have bought them. So you buy them a toy, they play with it for 6 months, and then they're not even using it anymore after a while. But you buy them some stock, it sits there, it grows. They're not thinking about it, you're not thinking about it. But then one day when they get older, they look back and they say, "Wow, look at how much this thing has grown in all these years." So let me give you an example. If somebody had bought a share of Nike stock, or let's say they bought a share of Nike stock for you every 3 or 4 months, and they did that since the year 2002, the last say 22 years. That would be a ridiculously insane amount of money. Like you'd have so much money in your account, it'd be ridiculous. If they'd done that with Apple and just bought you some Apple stock. People knew about Apple in 2000. People knew about Apple in the 90s. Apple was very popular in the 90s. And even in that time, there was no iPhone. Nobody even knew what that was. There was no iPod. There was no iPad. iMac. All these things that Apple does now. The Apple Store. None of that existed back then. But everyone knew about Apple. So you can't say you didn't know. We knew. We knew Apple was out there. We knew Apple products existed. We knew about Steve Jobs. So imagine when you were a kid. Let's say in the 1990s. Somebody just said, "Okay, grandma, every Christmas, grandma's gonna get you a card and a share of stock. And maybe buy a small toy every now and then if you want to, if grandma's got it like that. But every year, grandma's gonna buy you a share of stock or two, and or $100 worth of stock, and she's gonna also give you a little card to go with it. And if grandma did that consistently over the last 20 something years, you'd have a really nice size amount of money if grandma was very consistent and if grandma let the stock grow and if grandma never sold the stock. And that type of thing makes a big difference. My grandma used to do that, except she didn't know about stock. Well, she knew about it, but she was afraid of it. My grandmother would buy savings bonds. And every Christmas and every birthday, we would always get a savings bond. We just knew like clockwork as kids. We were trained on this, and it would be in a little envelope. It was a little piece of cardboard almost, and that's what she would give us. And she explained compound interest, and she would say, and it would be a little thing, and it would say 100 on it, and I was like, "Is this $100 bill?" And she said, "No, it costs $50, but it's going to be worth $100 when it matures in 7 years." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like that's what I was like, "All right, whatever." And I didn't think about it. And I remember her buying buying those savings bonds for me when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And by the time I was 19 or 20 and I went to college, I had thousands of dollars that my grandma had bought in these savings bonds, and that money really helped me at that time. And so I would say bonds are still okay to buy now, Barbara. I mean, you can still do that. You can still go to the bank and get bonds and CDs and things like that. I think stock is the best route, though. I think like in a mutual fund, shares of a mutual fund. AI is going to be really big. We've talked about AIQ. AIQ is my favorite AI ETF. There's a list of AI stocks. If you text the word stock to 87948, I can send you the list of AI stocks altogether. But really, you could just buy AIQ and call it a day. But if you do that consistently, then they're going to have wealth that is growing in the background that will benefit them later on. And wealth is something that everybody should have wealth growing for themselves in the background somewhere. There has to be some wealth growing somewhere in the background for that child for them to be financially secure. If you do not have wealth growing in the background somewhere for that child, then they're going to hit adulthood and they're going to struggle with extreme financial anxiety and financial insecurity because they're not going to be ready for the world. They're not going to have what they need. It's no different from getting their winter coat ready before they go outside. We send our kids outside with no jacket on, and they either freeze to death or they have to go and beg somebody to cover them up because nobody ever thought about the fact that the weather's cold. This is a cold world. You got to get your child a jacket. Your investments for that child are the jacket that they will need to keep themselves warm and safe in a very cold capitalist society. And it ain't gonna get no better under Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a hardcore capitalist. That's what he is. Now, somebody's asking about Dogecoin. What do I think about that? I do own some Dogecoin. I bought some just for fun, and it is going up today. That's really true. I bought some XRP also, and had Bitcoin and everything. I think all that stuff is going up. And also, I have a lot of investments in companies that benefit from the growth in Bitcoin, like Coinbase and things like that. It's exciting. It's exciting to watch crypto right now. I'm still waiting for Bitcoin to hit 100,000. I think it's going to hit 100,000. I don't know if it's going to happen before the end of the year. But it could. See, Bitcoin's kind of strange. It just kind of pops off at any moment. It just kind of pops off, and it just says, "I'm gonna pop out and show you." You know what I mean? Like it would just come out and just be like, "All right, I'm here." Now I'm gonna go up $10,000 today for all the haters that thought I wasn't gonna move. And so Bitcoin is weird. It'll just come out of a bag on you, and then it'll go dormant. Like Godzilla, Godzilla stories where Godzilla would just be asleep for like 80 years and then he just comes out. Like that's what Bitcoin does. It's very weird. So I'm just waiting for Bitcoin to just have a day where it just wakes up and it pops out and shows us. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody called me Boyce Lamar. Yeah, and it's gonna be cool. I think it could happen any day now, or it may take 6 months. I have no idea, but I know it's exciting to watch, and I know that most experts are pretty much predicting that Bitcoin is just gonna they're talking about numbers like 500,000, a million, things like that. So just keep that in mind. And you're right, Terrence. You cannot save your way to wealth. You have to invest. Okay, so uh, there's the Q&A section. If anybody wants to ask me a quick question, make it like one sentence so we can be quick. I don't want to keep you guys here all day. I'll do some Q&A today. And also, again, if you want to go take a look at that recording for what we did yesterday, you can go to kiddieboss.com, KIDDIE boss.com. And also, if you're not on the text list for this morning class, just text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Oklo, yes, I like Oklo. I'm investing in Oklo. Okay, I'm looking in the Q&A section. I'm not looking in the chat. I'm looking in the Q&A. Dr. Boyce, Bloom Energy halted yesterday and boom today. Did it really? Oh, well, I think I might own Bloom. I got to double check. Maybe it was trading so high that a lot of times if a stock is just going crazy, the market will just shut off. Will the link for the BMOT discount be sent to those who attended last night? I didn't catch it in the chat. Yeah, yeah, the link to the discount, I'll text that out today. And I don't even know where I was going to try to find it, but I got so many screens open. Um, okay, yeah. So here's one of them. Yeah. So this is our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. You can take a look at it. It's basically for kids. This is where your kids actually get trained. It's our Black Business School for Children. And so if you want to do a $1 trial in the program, it's 79 a month, but you can do the first month for $1. And so here's the link right there if you want to go try it out. And I know you're gonna like it, and there's a money back guarantee. So 30 days you can try it out. If you don't like it, we'll give you your dollar back. So so there we go. And we're really big into educating the kids, and we really want. I just believe I know that if we had millions of our kids go through a basic standard financial literacy curriculum that's focused on Black wealth and ownership and investing, it's gonna be a game changer for all of them. It takes the whole community to another level because the problem with a lot of business schools now is they're training all the Black kids to get jobs working for white people. That's it. That's what they're trained to do. And you don't have much power in that situation. You're always going to feel frustrated and limited by what people will allow you to do. But like I remember hearing a rapper say, was it like basically said gangsters do what they want to, suckers do what they can, right? So I want us to be gangster with our economics. Like I want our kids to be able to do what they want to do, not what they're allowed to do. I want them to do what they want to do, not what they can. Like, I did the best I could. No, you didn't. That's not the best you could have done. You did the best that massa would allow you to do. And I know some people get nervous when they hear me talk like that, but I'm sorry, I ain't playing with these people. I'm not scared of none of these fools. Ain't none of these fools more skilled than we are. None of these people are tougher than we are. No, none of these people work harder than we are. It's mindset. Mindset. And so don't ever come talking to me about what white people will and won't let you do. I think that's slave talk. That's not of interest to me at all. I'm sorry, hate saying it, but it's that's life, man. And when you have skill sets at a high level, you get to decide what your life is going to look like. I'll give you an example. I talked to a young lady who was super talented and very creative, and she said, I remember her telling me she was a college student, and she said she liked to design advertising campaigns. So she would do interesting things, like she would design an ad campaign for like Nike, but she didn't work for Nike, right? But it would be like the coolest ad campaign ever for like Air Jordans, and she'd draw the image and whatever. And she said, Dr. B, I wish I could get a job at Nike so I could do marketing. And I said, so you need Nike to give you permission to be creative? You need Nike to give you permission to do advertising? Like you're waiting for them to tell you that you can express the skill set and the creativity that God gave you? I don't understand that language. I don't understand this idea of I'm going to do it when Massa says I'm allowed to. That. I'm sorry, that is slave talk. So I'm not interested in slave talk, y'all. I think that and a lot of it comes down to whether or not you know how to cut out the middleman. Millions of our kids, many graduating from even from HBCUs, and I hate saying it, I love the HBCUs, but when you're training millions of black people to go work for white businesses, then what you're doing is you're putting a cap on their potential. You're limiting them. You need to train. There need to be more black people. Black people's wealth will start to truly grow when we hit one point that I might call the inflection point. The inflection point will be when we are training more of our kids to build and work for themselves than we are training kids to build and work for white people. When we get to that point where we understand that we must produce more entrepreneurs and investors than we are producing just pure employees with no entrepreneurial skill, then that is when you're going to see our wealth rise because we're going to build businesses that where the cap will be blown off. There won't be a limitation on how much money you can make, how much power you can have, the change that you can push forward and create in your community. A builder can kind of do a lot of things that a non-builder can't. So ultimately, we need builders. That's what we need in our community, and I believe this to the core of my soul. What's the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF? That's a great question. ETFs are pretty much purely automated, but mutual funds can be very passively done. Mutual funds, there are certain specifics in terms of how they're traded and how the funds flow in and out and how the calculations are done. ETFs are basically like a stock where they design this asset to track a specific index or something. So there's no sort of active management. There's no sort of funds flow issue or anything. It's more so like we created this thing that tracks an index or something, and you can buy this thing to track the index. Whereas a mutual fund is a composite of stocks. It's like an economic soup where a bunch of people pull their money together and they buy a bunch of different stocks, and they can also track an index too, but it's just sort of a different process. But they're very similar, actually, very similar. So let's see here. Is there a credit card stock to invest? Is there a credit card stock to invest? You mean like companies? Visa's a great asset to own, and then also Robinhood does have a credit card. If that's what you meant, I'm not sure which direction you want the question to go, but yeah, if you want a good credit card, with an investment company, the Robinhood Gold credit card is actually quite good, and Visa is a credit card company that you could invest in, which gets very high reviews. Have you ever given us any stock for AI data centers? Asked Barbara. Yes. Well, it wasn't quite data centers directly. It's actually energy, which is connected to the data centers because they're going to need a lot of energy to fuel the data centers. But um, I can put a list together at some point. And so what I'll do now though is I'll try to find the energy list, and maybe that's one I can give you now. But yeah, we did talk about AI a little bit in terms of what's happening. I think it's essential. I think if you're an investor, you have to invest in AI. You don't want to be left behind. And the thing is, nobody knows exactly what it's going to look like. We just know it's going to be big. And it's kind of similar to how people felt about the internet when it first came along. They were like, well, we don't know what it's going to look like, but we know it's going to be huge. So basically, as this huge thing comes along, you want to be attached to that wagon on some level, and the quickest way to do that is to just buy stock in that industry. So here we go. Here's some stocks, nuclear powered stocks. I'll put this list in the chat, and you can go take a look. And so this is not quite a data center list, but this is a list on energy stocks that are going to benefit from AI. What does AIQ cover? Asked Ayantha. It's on the Robinhood app. If you look up AIQ, you can see the stocks that are in there, but it's basically like companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, and stuff that are going to benefit from the AI revolution. As a college student, what's the best advice for investing? Neona, good for you, Neona. I'm proud of you that you're in college and you're doing this because it's going to make a big difference for your life. Um, I would say form a habit of saving or investing at least 10 or 15% of any income that you make, even if you're not making much money. Uh, Try not to sell your stock. If you buy it, just leave it there. Um, be consistent, learn how to start a business because if you learn how to start a business and then make smart friends, like make smart friends because if you learn how to start a business and you have smart friends that also know how to start businesses, then at some point you're going to find your $1 million idea. Or maybe it won't be $1 million idea. Maybe it'll be $100,000 idea. Either way, though, that 100,000 million dollar idea can give you something that's critical for wealth building, which is cash flow. So you pull in that cash flow, and so now you got money. Now you've got choices and options, and you can invest that money in and build up your capital base more. And once you have a capital base, you're good. That's it. That touchdown, you won, checkmate, checkmate on the world because in America, the most important thing a person can have is not a college degree; it's a capital base. A capital base is just resources that you have that you can turn to whenever you need something. When you need food, you need water, you need clothing, you need shelter, whatever it is that you need, your capital base can provide that for you. And that's the biggest thing that people are missing. And that's why people have to go to work every day because they don't have any capital base other than their time and their energy and their bodies and maybe your brain. If you're lucky, it might be your brain. So you go to a job and you give up your time, your energy, your mind, and your body to generate what you need, which is cash flow, because you don't have a capital base anywhere other than your time and your energy, your brain and your body. You understand? But the thing about capital and capital bases is that you can form capital bases with things that are non-biological. LeBron James's biggest capital base when he was 19 years old was his body, and because he's a great basketball player, he's 6'8", 267, 6'8", whatever, 200 and something pounds. He could dunk a basketball. He's a great player, so he made a lot of cash flow because he would basically liquidate his capital base by getting out on the court and running up and down the court and everything else. Now LeBron's old. He's got the gray beard. He's about to retire. He's been doing a great job taking care of his body, but his body will eventually that capital base will deplete. So what LeBron's been doing, which is very intelligent, is he's been taking the opportunity to build wealth. He's been taking that cash flow and converting that into, he's been storing his nuts for the winter, so to speak, by taking that cash flow and turning that into a capital base that doesn't require his physical exertion, his physical input, which is why even though his son Bronny wants to play basketball, but he's not as good as his dad, but it doesn't matter if he's as good as his dad because he's going to be richer than his dad. Why? Well, because Bronny has something his dad did not have at the age of 18, which is an inorganic capital base that he can draw wealth from and income from for the rest of his life. So this is how capital works. If you get once you get a capital base, you're good. This is why you invest for the children, and we talked about that all day yesterday in the training. You get to you invest for the kids while they're little, so that they'll have a capital base when they become adults. Then, when they get to be Neona's age and they're in college, they're not struggling for scraps. They're or having to do horrible things for money. Like I told you all that story about when I worked at Hardee's overnight. I would work the night shift at Hardee's, and I had to go to class the next day, and I had that old raggedy nasty ass white lady trying to basically buy sex from me. I kid you not, like because she had money, so, and she knew I was broke. I probably looked broke. I don't know, maybe it was in my eyes or something. But yeah, this lady was literally trying to sleep with me, and I'm like, you can't get all this delicious chocolate for 9.95. I don't come cheap, lady. And plus, it was just kind of gross. I think she was like older than my mama, and that'll just make you vomit. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Anyway, let's keep going. All right, so what are we buying? What are you buying today? The market looks red, and I want to buy the dip. Let's see. I can't think of too many. I mean, so many things. I'm not buying. I don't think I'm buying anything right now today. I'm trying to think about. Uh, you know, I released a list of stocks under what Dr. Boyce is buying, which is in the Black Stock Market Program. I think that buying more shares of something like AIQ would work. Nothing really comes to mind right now. There's always stuff there, and I just mention stocks. I think about it, and also follow me on Twitter if you want to. Every now and then I'll mention something I'm buying, on Twitter or something. And also Dr. Boyd's Daily Stock Market. That's a podcast I have on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify, look up Dr. Boyd's Daily, you can find the podcast there. So periodically, if I see something of interest, I'll make a quick little episode and put it in there. Should there be a fee for using Robinhood? Asked Sabrina. Yeah, they get their money. They get their money through like transactions costs and stuff. I think that they don't have fees for everything, but they do have fees for some things. And also they sell your order flow. That's how they make a lot of their money. They take your order and they run it through a certain company, and the company makes money through the bid ask spread and stuff like that, which is of questionable ethics actually. My son and his wife are childless and may remain so. They're in the mid 30s. How to buy stock for them? They may have they may have their own stocks. Okay, so the childless. Okay, so they may remain so. Well, if they remain so, there's always some child out here that could use our support. So I kind of think it does take a village, and I don't need to be your father to be your father, if you know what I mean. I think there's so many of our kids that can use our help, and I think we should help any black child that we see. But still, obviously, your kids are your kids. And if you want to buy stock for family members, I think you could just buy it for yourself and just in your mind, you pre-allocate it, in your estate plan and stuff like that. You could just say, put instructions in your trust that this will go to them if something happens to you, or at some point you can just gift it to them and talk to the tax accountant about what the tax implications might be. But I don't think it has to be something where you're formally giving things to people. I think controlling the asset is important. Let's see, Dr. Boyce, what do you think about meme coins in general? Asked Richard. I think they're mostly crap, but Dogecoin is kind of interesting because Elon Musk in his Doge Department of Governmental Efficiency is breathing life into that asset. And it's undeniable. It's real. And I think Doge is going to rise with everything else. So that's why I bought a little bit, but I didn't buy a lot. Chanita, who is the person behind the voice on your Spotify? Who's the person behind the voice? It's me. It's Boyce. Um, Individual stocks for kids or an ETF. You can do both. You can do both. It does. Just don't buy a lot of crappy stocks like S&P 500 companies. That's where I would focus on unless you become really crafty and savvy and you want to dig into the weeds a little bit. But the S&P 500 companies will keep you pretty safe. Which Bitcoin ETF is good to buy? You know what? I don't remember the names of all the Bitcoin ETFs, but I can grab one. I think BlackRock does BlackRock have one? I keep wanting to say BlackRock has one, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't buy Bitcoin ETFs. I buy either Bitcoin directly or I'll buy stocks that are mining Bitcoin and things like that just to get exposure to the industry. Did you get a chance to research target date funds? If so, what are your thoughts? No, I did not. So let me write that down too. Target date funds. I'll look it up. Because I don't know. I'm assuming that the words target date, maybe it's a bond fund where they have expiration dates or something, but I'm not sure about that one. Let's see. Antoinette, Dr. Boyce, I gifted the Kitty Boss program for my sister and her kids. Can she share the program with me? Of course you can. Once you go to kittyboss.com and that's where the breakdown of how to turn your child into a millionaire is located. You can share it with anybody you want. In the Black Business School, we have pretty much an honor system. We trust you. And we just have to raise money because we don't take government money, we don't take corporate money, and so we need to run the institution. That's why we turn to you, and everything isn't free, but we do lots of free things here. So money is not a barrier for you to participate. However, the things that we do that do have a fee attached, our guarantee is that we'll give you value that exceeds whatever the fee is, and we hope that you'll consider that because we're not trying, we are building a black owned institution, and in my personal belief is that the best way to do that is you have to disconnect from the politics and stuff like that. So I didn't want to do a nonprofit. I didn't want to do something that's corporate sponsored. I didn't want to do something that was sponsored by the government. I don't want money from the Democrat or Republican parties. I want to be able to do what we need to do to solve the problem wherever it lies. So anyway, let's keep going. Let's see. Could you repeat the AI ETF? Yes, it's AIQ. AIQ. I've seen the offer for the stock market class for $1 or something, but I was at work. I couldn't get to it. Is it still available? Yeah, if you go to the black theblackstockmarketprogram.com, you can find it there. I'll type in the chat, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. All right, so it's right there in the chat. And if you want to be on the text list for this class, text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. And also, there's another text list for those of you that are interested in material that relates to the youth, like maybe getting your kids ready financially, Black Millionaires of Tomorrow sorts of content. You can feel free to text the word youth to 87948. So you can text youth to 87948, and that's where we talk about getting your kids ready and just some of the things that we have in place to help you with that part. Let's see, what's a good mutual fund to buy? I like VOO, Victor Oscar Oscar SPY Sierra Papa Yankee. Barbara says it seems as though data centers will be high. Do you know of any AI data centers? Well, I gave you all that list of energy stocks, which is gonna give you the energy to power the data centers, but I don't have a specific list of data center stocks. I can look into that though for sure. John Trey, what are some stocks under $20 that we can use to make passive income that are actually a good investment? When you say make passive income, if you're talking about selling stock options, if you go into drboyceprime.com, there is a list of Dr. Boyce money makers, and some of them are either below $10 or close to it, like a stock like Mara, Marathon Platforms. That's I think that may be above $10 now, but there was a time where it was very, very low. And let's see here, yeah, and there's some other stuff. Stocks under $10. Here we go. Here's a list. I'll share this list here. So this is a list of stocks you can buy for under $10. There we go. It's right there. So feel free to take a look at that. Noel, which program in the Black Business School should I register an 18-year-old college son to? We have something called Young, Black, and Rich, and that's designed specifically for young people. So if you, I think the URL might be youngblackandrich.com. If it's not, you can also talk to the support team. Their email address is support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. All right. So yeah, I think Young, Black, and Rich. Let me see. I don't remember if the URL was set up or not. No, that's not. Okay, so yeah, so forget I said that. So that yeah, I thought that URL might be out there, but it's not. I'm looking. So yeah, so email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, or you can just go to theblackbusinessschool.com to kind of look at all the things that are there. Also, the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program is really good for anybody really under the age of 25 who doesn't know the basics of financial literacy. It's fun. Everybody likes it. So feel free to take a look at that. I'm a financial advisor. I can help people invest. I reached out to you via email to advertise, but I haven't heard back. What should I do? Email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. You should hear back. Don't email me. Don't email me because if you email me, I won't see it just because I get 1,000 emails a day and I don't have the time to really read email. But if you email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, they can help you. But I'll just tell you the truth too. We don't really sell a lot of advertising. We have some spaces, some limited spaces and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're not really just into a lot of that. But we do have spaces for some limited partnerships or things like that, or maybe speaking opportunities or just whatever. Like there's ways to blend it in. So I wouldn't say don't do it. I would say still send the email, but just know no, we don't necessarily have. We tried the advertising thing and it just kind of became a little bit cumbersome. So we don't do a lot of that as much anymore. And also the other part too is the liability issue, right? If I mention something in someone's product and it hasn't been fully vetted, which I don't have that time to really go to. If something goes wrong, like with the Tulsa Fund, for example, then people will think that I was involved with it, and that was, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was very disappointing to me, just because I didn't know anything about what they were doing there. I don't hate those people. They were very nice people, but apparently something went wrong. And I was over here doing this stuff. I didn't go to any single meetings or participate in anything. But I did say, hey, I'm supporting because blah 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 blah. And I lost like every penny I invested. I lost every penny, and I wasn't mad, but at the same time, I saw some things where I was like, yeah, I think people who haven't experienced investing before don't realize when you make an investment, you could lose your money. So I just saw it as like, okay, it didn't work out. But at the same time, when people came to me and they said, "Well, I invested because of you," that was like sort of a reflection to me, like, okay, you know what? There's only certain things I can really get involved with because I only have time to vet certain businesses, right? Or whatever. So that's kind of why, if you've ever wondered why I have to be sort of hesitant about sort of just saying, yeah, support this and support that, is because there is a responsibility there, and that's something I had to learn over time. So anyway, but no disrespect to those people, with the Tulsa Fund, but it was difficult. It's some hard conversations. So all right, so let's see here. Dr. Boyce, Pat says, Dr. Boyce, can you tell us which ETFs you invest in? I invest in a lot. Um, well, I always go back to AIQ, and VOO and SPY, but there's others in there. I just don't remember everything. In a way, it's like, and this is maybe a tip on how to on investing. I think you should consider this. Is that I invest so much that I forget some of the stuff that I bought. If I see it and it looks like something I should have in the portfolio, I get it and I add it in there. And then if you ask me 3 months later, do you own that? I'll say, I don't think so. And I'll go and I'll say, oh, that's right, I bought it. And really, I think that that's something to learn from. If you make investing just part of your DNA, just a habit, like think about it. You don't remember every meal you ate because you eat every day. You don't remember every time you talked to your mother because you talked to your mother. It's part of who you are, right? It's part of your habit. And I think there's something to learn from that. Like Michael Jordan, when he talked about what it took to become a great basketball player, he was explaining that it's not really a conscious decision so much to become a great basketball player. It's just part of who I am. It's like my standard. It is my culture. It is my culture to stay 2 hours longer than the other players. It's part of it's part of my process, right? Do you see what I mean? So I think you should make investing just a part of your process. I get some extra money, let me go buy some stock. The same way you can't remember every time you went to church. You can't remember every time you bought a new pair of shoes. You can't remember every time you went to the gym if you're a fitness freak, right? So you should not remember every time you bought a stock because it shouldn't be something that you only do once every 2 years. It should be something that you're doing once a week sometimes, right? Just make it part of your culture. And then when wealth is part of your culture, then that's when you'll see your wealth grow. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to answer a couple more questions and then we're going to bounce out for today. Let's see, 65 years old, low income. Where should I begin to build retirement and multiply as fast as possible? Well, if you're starting to prepare for retirement at 65, that's really hard, right? Because your retirement is a culmination of what you've done over the last 40 years. So if you're starting at 65, that means you have to be real creative. That means family steps in. If you've invested in family, that means really thinking about working a little bit longer. You may have to work beyond 65 to make income. It means if are you married with multiple incomes in the house? If you are, then that helps. Um, Real estate, if you own a home, that's part of your retirement. You've got your pensions, you've got your Social Security. Uh, it's the idea of fast money is really, really, really hard because that just isn't typically sturdy. That's not predictable. Fast money, the hope that you can buy a stock and it triples or something, that's going to require taking on a lot of risk. Risk means not just that you might triple. Risk also means that you might lose 100% of your investment. So if you say, well, how do I make 40 years worth of money in a 3-year period? Um, we could go to Vegas and you could put all your money on black if you want to. But there's a good chance you may walk away with nothing. You see? So that's a hard question. Now, if you talk about how to invest and how to grow money on a consistent basis, there's plenty of ways to do that. But really, what I encourage you to do is try not to put yourself in a situation where the options are limited. It's almost like if I go to the doctor and I say, I've been smoking and eating greasy food for 30 years and not exercising. Now I've got cancer and heart disease. Make me healthy again. Well, the doctor's going to say, I don't know what to say to you, right? I can make you comfortable in your condition, but the choices you've made up until this point are overwhelming to the point where there's not a lot that I can do. Or like when I was teaching at Syracuse and I had students that would try to learn, like hadn't studied for the test. And we've been working on this stuff for 3 months. And then 24 hours before the test, they want to learn everything for the test. And I would say, well, I don't know how's that gonna happen? So again, I'm gonna say, and I'm not scolding the process at all. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad. So please don't think I'm doing that. Um, I am really sort of sharing my honest reflection on that. And yes, investing consistently works. Starting businesses works. Getting into investment clubs works. Knowing where your resources are, that works. But if nothing's been done up until this point, and we're knocking on the door of retirement, then that kind of becomes like a lesson for for the people behind you to say, don't do what I did, right? So you do the best you can with what you got, be efficient with those resources, but just it's absolutely imperative that you understand that when it comes to wealth, you have to plan ahead. Wealth requires investing, and it's not just financial. What I see in our society is that a lot of people struggle not just financially, but otherwise because investing and delayed gratification are not taught as part of the culture. That's why you have people. The reason when I see a 28-year-old who can't pay the bills, I wonder what their parents were doing for that 157,680 hours that they weren't in the house and nobody was investing for them. They spent all that time not investing for their child, so now your child is broken, struggling. The other thing I think about is I say, well, what kind of relationships do you have? If you have a husband or a wife, that right there can help you with your financial situation because you got a teammate, you got somebody helping you financially. Do we value even the skill sets required to build a good relationship with a partner? Or does everybody think that relationships are just about getting good sex and hanging out and having fun? Or dating somebody who's fun, who is going to destroy your financial situation? So you can keep going down the list. Or when I see a person who is 70 years old who says, I'm struggling in retirement and I have no resources, well, next question somebody might ask is, well, where are your kids? Well, I didn't have any kids because I was a player my whole life and I didn't think that kids in marriage, I felt like it was a burden. Well, now you're the burden. Now your life has become the burden because you didn't invest in people. You don't understand that those little kids, we talked about this. I'm not going to go into this again because I don't want to be preaching, but those kids that you thought were a nuisance, like oh that lady where you said I'm not dating no woman because I don't want to be nobody's baby daddy, or she a baby mama. I'm not dating no baby mama because I ain't taking care of somebody else's kids. Well, guess what? Those kids grow up and they're taking care of somebody else. They're going to take care of the people who took care of them. And because you were thinking about yourself the whole time, now you're 70 and ain't nobody checking on you like that because you wasn't checking on them. Or like the lady, the nurse, I saw a nurse who did a great video where she said, I see black men, good looking men with good jobs in the hospital in their 50s because they had a stroke. And she said, I would say to them, where's your wife? How come there's nobody here to help you? You need somebody changing your diapers, right? Or changing, really, like real stuff. And they would say, oh, I was a player. I was a player. You better stop playing. I'm not saying that you can't, I'm not saying that I'm not judging anybody's lifestyle, but I am saying that one of the things that I see on a regular basis is that when you don't have anything, it's because you did not build anything. You did not prepare anything. You hungry right now because you didn't stop to cook dinner. So that of course you're going to be hungry. We do things today to prepare for tomorrow. Because as Kamala Harris said, and she said she kind of fumbled her words and it sounded flaky when they replayed it, but I got what she was saying. She said because eventually tomorrow becomes today, right? And then eventually today becomes yesterday. And I was like, I get it. And I don't know if we get it. My grandma used to have. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. My grandma, my other grandma, not Felicia, Alma, my father's mother. She used to have this sign on her over her piano. Every grandma has a piano. She was a church lady. And the, the sign said something like, I remember looking at this when I was like 10, and it said that today is the tomorrow that you were worried about yesterday. And you know how you're 10 and you see something like that and it seems so profound. And I remember reading it and thinking about that. Like, yeah, today is the tomorrow that I was thinking about yesterday. And then tomorrow will be today. And then every day gets to be a tomorrow and a yesterday, right? And so long story short, I'm just telling you that investors, people that tend to be in good shape financially and otherwise, are people that were thinking about today when today used to be tomorrow. They did everything that they're getting today is a result of what they did yesterday. And a lot of people didn't do anything yesterday because all they saw was today. And that's really part of the essence of consciousness is having the ability to optimize today, to be in the moment, be present, enjoy your life, but to always realize that you've got these other things that are going to be happening in the future that you have to be prepared for. So that's my assessment on this. I encourage you to have these conversations with your kids because most of the financial problems in America are easily avoided with very simple adjustments, very simple modifications. So that's it for today. I'm done. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. It was great to see you. Again, if you want to get a notification when we start class tomorrow, text the word morning to the number 87948. You can come into the private Zoom and we can chop it up. Also, if you want to get a recording of what we did yesterday on how to turn your child into a millionaire, that's at kiddieboss.com, KIDDIE boss.com. And I'll text out the link for you to join or to go take a look if you want to. So just make sure you text morning to 87948. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you, and I will see you all tomorrow.